Good evening to everyone. Welcome to the board meeting here at DeJoe Middle School. We're about to start and we're going to go into closed session shortly. But before we do, I just give some procedures. Once again, welcome to the meeting tonight, this evening. But before we do, the board here is to receive public comment on any closed session item that is agendized. The board would then adjourn to closed session and reconvene an open session to continue with the regular agenda at 6:30 p.m. If you are attending the meeting in person here at DeJohn and you wish to make a public comment now on a closed session item, you will need to submit an orange request to address the board form to indicate your desire to speak. If participating by Zoom, you will need to raise your hand by clicking on the appropriate icon in the Zoom app or by pressing *9. If accessing the meeting by phone, there's no yielding a time to another speaker and there is no substitution of speaker permitted. Please up the cards. Now, if you are here in the audience and you are in the Zoom or attending by phone, please get in line. To access translation of the agenda, click on the top of the web page using the word English. For translation into multiple languages. Media interpretation services are available by Zoom by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented public comment. And now, the discussion in closed session tonight is conference. First, let me give the government code 54957-7. Conference, no, it's going to be conference with legal counsel, liability claims, public employee, discipline, dismissal, release complaint, student discipline education code section 35146, and conference with labor negotiation, and then we will adjourn closed session to come back into the meeting. And at this time, are there any public comments for closed session items?
There's no public comment.
All right, thank you. And now we will close out this particular session and we'll reconvene at 6:30 p.m. to open the session back up. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The closed session of the board will continue to 7:15 and we'll be coming back in around 7:15 to start the meeting. Sorry for the delay. Oh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The board is still in closed session, so we will be reconvening around 7:15. See you shortly. Sorry for the delay. To say good evening to everyone. Welcome to the board meeting here at the John Middle School. We just returned from closed session. This is Wednesday, November the 16th, the regular scheduled board meeting of the West Contra Unified School District. To access translation of the agenda, click on the top of the webpage, the word English for translation into multiple languages. Meeting interpretation services are available in the Zoom by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 crisis, the manner in which the Board of Education meetings are conducted has changed. Thank you in advance for your understanding and your cooperation as we experiment with new ways to conduct the people business while allowing for the maximum participation and adhering to our values of respect and safety for the community. We have changed public comment format from which now occurs at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment will last for no more than 1 hour and includes any agendized and non-agendized item. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. We are about to start public comment. So if you are attending the meeting in person, you will need to submit an orange request to address the board to indicate your desire to speak on an agenda item. Please finish up if you need to turn in those cards. Raise your hand, somebody will pick it up from you in the Zoom app or by pressing *9, accessing the meeting by phone. There is no yielding a time nor substitution of speaker permitted. If you are making a public comment from Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then after the Pledge of Allegiance, the land acknowledgement, and then we have the roll call. So let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chochenyo, Muwekma, Karka, and Ohlone peoples and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now we'll have the roll call from Dr. Hurst.
Thank you, sir. President Christian,
Present.
Trustee Clerk Gonzalez Hoy,
Present.
Trustee Reckler,
Good evening, present.
Trustee Phillips,
Present.
Trustee Smith Folds,
Good evening, everyone. Present.
Trustee Miles,
Present.
Trustee Sampagna,
Present.
all present and accounted for.
All right, thank you. And now we will have the report out from the closed session.
Thank you, sir. Regarding agenda item A 2.2, claim number 611076, the board voted to grant the application to file a late claim. The votes were as follows. Gonzalez Hoy, yes. Phillips, yes. Reckler, yes. Smith Folds, yes. President Christian, yes. Also, the board took no action on the claim. We'd also like to report out that we have a new interim director of special education, Perlita Vic Roy. And the vote was as follows. Trustee Phillips, yes. Trustee Clerk Gonzalez Hoy, yes. Trustee Reckler, yes. Trustee Smith Folds, yes. And President Christian, yes. Thank you. That concludes our report out.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hurst. And now we will go to public comment. And do we have public coming on in-house, and then from in-house, and then we go on Zoom?
Our first public comment is Delon Harrison.
Good afternoon, Board and Superintendent. How y'all doing this evening? I came to say that I am getting some work done in this district with your staff, and we're getting our APACs good and going. And we're also making sure our BSU students are getting the opportunity to have their voices heard. So even though I feel there's a lot of systemic racism still implanted in our district and how the district operates, I do see parents organizing now and having more input in how this is shaping along in our district. Thank you, Dr. Hurst, for, continue to make platforms where Black communities can engage, because we don't always participate in what's given to us. But if you keep working at it, we'll figure it out. And I just want to continue to thank you guys for the staff that you do have in the district that is working on it, and the teachers that are showing up to teach all kids, and the parents that are showing up continuously to advocate for their kids and other kids when they see harm being done with systemic racism and children being left out or set to the side or not getting the things they need like all the other children. And I just want to thank the board members that are getting out there in the community and getting involved in the things that are really going on to make a difference and a change for Black children, and giving them hope in this educational system that is not made for them to learn equally and equitably like all the rest of the kids. And I'll be back again to speak for the Black kids next board meeting. Thank you.
Our next public comment is John Zavala.
Good evening, President Christian, Superintendent Hurst, and others. My name is John Zavala, and I am here as President of United Teachers of Richmond. In September, educators, parents, and community leaders came here to speak to you about the urgency of settling our collective bargaining agreement. Today, I return to you with the same message. We remain incredibly far apart on the issues of salary in community schools. Board members, as of now, educators have been offered a 6% increase for this current school year and a 4% for the next. The district's effective COLA for this year is 13.26 in ongoing permanent increased state funding to our district. Additionally, the projected permanent increase for next year is 5.38, though it is very likely this will go as high as 7%. When last here, our members shared stories of the challenges and the sacrifices they are making in order to continue teaching in West Contra Costa. This time we come to you with a petition completed by over 90% of our members, 92, and a variety of other stakeholders. With this, the educators of WCCUSD are telling you that your counterproposal are not enough and that they are willing to take action. We also learned this week that the average teacher salary in the district decreased over $1,200 last year, leaving us at $77,000 on average, while the state average is $86,000. The 2021-2022 year was historic also due to the number of historic resignations from teachers, over 200 to be exact. It is extremely likely that our average salary has decreased significantly again. Dr. Hurst, our proposal this year of 10% represents $16 million. The 13.26 ongoing amounts to over 50 million. We believe, and our community believes, that this is a wise investment of funds for those closest to students. As a result of this lack of progress in our negotiations, I will be directing the members of UTR towards a series of collective actions, including withholding voluntary labor, extra labor, until this contract is settled. They are ready to do this. Are you? If not, I ask you again to settle our contract. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Gabrielle Micheletti.
Hello, my name is Gabrielle Micheletti, and I'm a teacher at Verde Elementary. I'm in my 7th year teaching, and the vast majority of people I began teaching alongside have now left this district. And every time we lose teachers or can't attract experienced teachers from other districts, it disproportionately impacts our schools where students are already facing many challenges. This is not justice. We speak so much in this district of equity and justice, and yet the actions of this district do not echo those stated sentiments. We need full staffing. We need to attract and retain educators. Last year, I had a student with a profound speech impediment that was impeding his ability to sound words out and advance in reading. I spoke with his guardian many times about trying to get him support so that he could progress in learning to read, as he was so desperately trying. He went 2/3 of the school year with no speech therapist. Students who are legally required to receive extra supports are not receiving them. This only widens chasms already created in our system. We as educators want to give our students the skills to create the world they so deserve. I know so many educators who are teetering on the edge. They want to stay in the communities where they have worked, where they have the connection and partnership that truly supports students. Yet many of them are already discussing whether they will stay after this year. I fear this district will continue to hemorrhage educators, much like we did last year, further distressing remaining educators and disrupting school communities when they must be juggled around. I actually just came from a wonderful evening at my school, paid for mostly by a grant. Our incredible scout led parent volunteers to create a fair-like atmosphere outside, and students brought in their parents and loved ones to show and celebrate all their hard work so far this year. Everyone I saw was smiling, proud, and excited to be there. These are the schools our students deserve, and bringing in community and input can only strengthen them. I ask you to consider what true validation, learning, and the skills to truly create and experience justice are worth to you, and go show it.
Our next public comment is Mark Mitchell.
Good evening, President Christian, Dr. Hurst, trustees, and cabinet members. My name is Mark Mitchell. I'm the new executive director of the United Teachers of Richmond. I've been here for a few months now, since I think around September 9th or so. And I just wanted to address you tonight because what I see is our district here is in crisis. There's 148 certificated vacancies listed today on EdJoin, November 16th, 2022. There should be 5 or 10 or 12, not 148. There's too few adults at school sites, and the working conditions of educators are unstable, dispiriting, upsetting, and the learning conditions of West Contra Costa students are not adequate. There are thousands of West Contra Costa students right now that don't have a permanent certificated educator in front of the classroom. And that's a tragedy. And it's not something that needs to be occurring at this level and this intensity. It's the product of a deliberate labor strategy being carried out in your name to deprive students of adequate learning conditions and educators of the resources that UTR and CTA have secured with our state government and Governor Newsom to provide this district with unprecedented funding never seen before in my professional lifetime. And it's being stuck in the district coffers and not being distributed to classrooms to support students and educators. We have a situation where, as President Zabala mentioned, a 13.26% effective COLA this year. It's well over $50 million in increased funding, yet the teachers are being offered less than half of that. No other district in this area has agreed to a teacher increase of that nature, and you have the lowest paid educators in the area. Things have to change. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Jesus A. Galindo.
%92% of UTR members signed that petition. That's over 1,300 members. And I'm here to make something really clear to you. It's not about salary. It's not about attrition. It's about putting an end to the drought of justice that we have in this community. It's about making sure that every single student, regardless of their background, regardless of the language they speak at home, has access to a credentialed teacher because it is a human right. The educators that are the backbone of this system should have a financially stable profession, but they don't. Imagine how heartbreaking it is to be told that your work allows a robust democracy to exist, that your work gives children from a variety of backgrounds access to the American dream, and yet you, who work every single day, don't have access to that American dream yourself. Those are the questions that we're asking here, Dr. Hurst. Is every child entitled to an educator? And should this profession that we love, that we fight for, that we cry over, should it be financially stable? And if the answer to those questions are yes, are we allocating our resources in a way that allows us to answer in that manner? It's not about salary. It's not about attrition. It's about Cynthia having a permanent teacher. It's about our colleagues not having to work 2 or 3 jobs to be in the profession they love. It's about justice, and we're on the right side of history. I know you know that.
Our next public comment is Kimberly Chamberlain.
Tall people. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Chamberlain, IFTTE Local 21 President, SSA Chapter. Tonight, you're looking at a beautiful hat by one of your students in this district. This hat was given to me. It brings a little humor, I understand, and I am grateful for it. It is also representative of what our students are capable of in a very simple, basic way. Please keep going forward with our teachers. Please keep moving forward with our classified, our adult school teachers. We have a lot of great people out there that can teach us. These teachers at all levels, whether they are a custodian, an aide, yourselves, myself, can teach our students how to be better people in this world. Something simple gives you humor. Something also simple can show what they are capable of learning and teaching another. I had this young student in my Girl Scout troop for the summer. She decided that she would teach all the younger kids how to do a simple crochet. They ended up learning how to look up and do multiple crocheting projects together, and they donated them to the local preschool in the area. Please keep going and making sure that our people are able to keep enhancing our students' lives. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Jeffrey Bean.
Good evening. Thank you for taking time to hear us. I'm Jeffrey Bean. I teach 4th and 5th grade at Shannon Elementary in Pinole. Today, I went to the yard to get my class. Chase was wearing a Burger King hat, the crown, the crown from Burger King. It made me laugh. Good way to start the day. At church on Sunday, I talked to a friend who teaches for another district, considering a job change. She asked if I like where I work. I told her that I really do love my school. I have a supportive principal, parents who I've known for many years, and students who work hard. But I'm concerned about where our district is headed. I see a district that prioritizes outside contracts over people. A district that doesn't pay its staff enough to get more people to work here, and then make salary offers that don't keep pace with inflation. Every fifth grade student at my school is in a split class. 18 of them are my 4 or 5 combo. The other ones are Costa, Holland, and 5-6 combo. That cannot be sound educational practice. We are having a great year. Today we practiced multiplication, drew pumpkins, and we got ready for tomorrow's field trip to the Exploratorium, paid for, of course, by outside generosity. But what will happen to my students next year? At a planning meeting in August, Dr. Hurst, you encouraged us to reimagine our schools. What could I tell my friend that would make her think that this is a great place to work? Could I tell her that we're always fully staffed because our board knows that a new curriculum is a waste of money if there are no people to teach it? That students are valued by not being placed in overcrowded classrooms? Right now, I can't tell her that. Please direct your bargaining team to deliver a salary that will ensure that Chase, Timmy, Mustafa, Naomi, and all my other students will have a teacher next year. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Nathania C. Please unmute yourself and state your last name for the record.
Hello, my name is Nathania Cruz. I go to Hercules Middle School. And I am here to represent the teachers of West Contra Costa District. It seems that the teachers are not being paid well. On salary.com, the estimated amount for a teacher's salary a year is $48K to $72K. But a salary in the Bay Area ranges from a low of $145,000 to a high of $187,000. This would mean people need 2 salaries in order to live in California. It seems that there is a shortage of teachers. How do you expect people to want to become a teacher if the salary is not even a sufficient amount of money to support you and your family? Teachers mold students to be the future of our country. This is a great responsibility that should not be underestimated and underpaid. Also, teachers have to take care of 35 or more kids per class a day. They have to deal with kids that don't pay attention, sometimes disrespectful comments, giving assignments, grading them, and much more. Please, let's be fair to our underpaid teachers. Is there any way to solve these problems? Please help our teachers. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a good day.
And our last public comment for tonight is Maisha Harris Gash. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I don't even know where to begin, but we are in a season of thanks and of giving. And so in all things, as we're moving through this season, let's be thankful and let's be giving. In relation to what's going on between our different unions, I will say this: we all make choices. And we all make choices that are going to affect us short term or long term. So in the midst of that, think about being thankful and think about being giving. Thank you to the student from Hercules for speaking in support of us as teachers. Also, I have been teaching for 25 years. We know there has been a shortage of teachers going back about 15 or 20 years across the nation. So this isn't new. It just got accelerated during COVID. This work is not for everybody, no matter how much you pay them. This work is not for everybody. What I would like to see my district do is utilize the gifts and the talents of its teachers who we do this because it is our purpose and it is the passion upon our lives. No knock against the people who work within the HR department, but if you're not in the trenches day in and day out, especially at some of our most challenged schools, how can you speak to somebody to say, we want you to come to this district and then place them in a place that you did not even prepare them for? What I would like to see is like area directors and all these other people on the district level come and walk through our schools, come and talk to our kids. And I'm talking about more on a regular basis, because that is a way of giving to us as teachers. That is a way of giving thanks to us as teachers, that we see you and that you're just not a name on the spreadsheet of the district. This is hard work, but it is also heart work, HEART. And we need some thanks and some giving for what we do each and every day. Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
All right, thank you. I want to thank everyone for giving the public comment for this evening meeting. And as we proceed on, we're gonna go to agenda review and adoption. Are there changes to the agenda review and adoption? Any changes? Can I get a motion on the floor?
President Christian, I move that we approve the agenda, sis.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Smith Folds seconds.
All right, it's been second. And now we go to the vote. And this evening, I think we start off with trustee Sapanya, right? Student trustee Sapanya,
Sumbanya, yes.
all right. Trustee Miles,
Miles, yay.
all right. And now we go to trustee Phillips. Okay, trustee Clerk Gonzalez Hoy,
Gonzalez, yes.
all right. Trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
all right. Trustee Smith Fall,
Smith Folds, yes.
all right, and myself a yes. All right, so the agenda review has been adopted, passed, and now we go to C, consent items. Are there any changes to the consent items? Trustee Reckler,
I'd like to pull C1, summary of payroll and vendor warrant reports, please.
you said C1.
Yes, please.
All right, C1. Are there anything else? All right. Clerk Gonzalez Hoy,
Thank you, President Christian. I move that we approve the consent items minus C1.
all right. So it's been moved, second.
Smith Folds seconds.
All right, it's been seconded by Smith Fall. And to the vote. Trustee Sapanya,
Sumbanya, yes.
all right, thank you. Trustee Miles,
Miles, yay.
all right. Trustee Phillips. Okay, trustee Clerk Gonzalez Hoy,
Gonzalez, yes.
all right. Trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
all right, thank you. Trustee Smith Fall,
Smith Folds, yes.
all right. And myself a yes. All right. And so now we go to D, which is the superintendent communication.
Thank you very much, sir. Going to ask if we could pull up the presentation, please. We also want to share with the board that we will have an update from our student trustees. If we remember last time we met, they were working on a survey, and they've been working with our Director of Communications, Ms. Sanders. So they're going to provide an update for us on where they are with that survey and their next steps. And if we can go to our next slide. So we wanted to acknowledge a couple of schools that participated in the Ruby Bridges Walk, and that it was MLK Elementary School and also Ellerhurst Elementary School. We also know that Ruby Bridges is a lifelong activist for racial equality. She was the first African-American child to desegregate the all-white William Frantz Elementary School in Louisiana during the New Orleans school desegregation crisis, November the 14th, 1960. So we wanted to acknowledge those two schools. Next slide. We also wanted to recognize the school that we're sitting in now, Dijon Middle School. They had a Black Excellence Award ceremony today, and they were acknowledging all the students, all the African-American students who had achieved 3.0 and above, but also leadership and other awards. And they also recognized a couple of staff. And then they had the opportunity as well to have the students and those staff that were being recognized to sit down and have a catered breakfast. So we wanted to celebrate and honor those 29 students who were 3.0 and above. Congratulations. This one was exciting as well. The Mafanikio field trip, and I was contacted by one of our own SCOUS community outreach workers, and they invited me to chaperone, and I had the opportunity to take my wife, Crystal, with me on this as well. And we had the opportunity to see an early viewing of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So these are the students that were with us. If we can go to the next slide. There were 40 students from Nisham Elementary who were treated to the special premiere screening of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This was in Emeryville at the AMC. The trip came courtesy of the Calculus Roundtable, a Richmond-based nonprofit that provides math programs to underserved students. The students in attendance are members of the Mafanikio Academic Program, an after-school program at Nisham and other schools as well. And this particular program, the Calculus Roundtable, teaches math, coding, and STEM activities for our students. There was also a group of 15 Nisham staff members, parent volunteers, along with myself and my wife as well. There was one comment that was captured from McElroy that said the film was empowering for our students to see. The portrayal of brown and Black actors in a positive light is right and important. And then Mr. Shoemake described the film as high energy and delivering on positivity for our students. The teacher said kids reported the next day on the film with a high level of enthusiasm. So we wanted to just acknowledge the efforts of all those who were involved, the Calculus Roundtable adults, Mr. Shoemake as well, those who are running the Mafanikio program, and then the students who enjoyed themselves. Next slide. Now we wanted to take the opportunity to share with the board and the public some strategic planning updates. And we can go ahead and click on that. And we're going to scroll through this. And we'll just stop right here for a second and just share with you. This is just a summary of who we are, our demographics. You can see about 26,000 students, 54%, which is Hispanic, 13% Black, 11% white, 11% Asian, 6% multiracial, 6% Filipino, 1% Pacific Islander. You can see as well, we have 56 school sites, including virtual, our 3 alternative ed sites, an adult school, and our special ed center as well, assessment center. Next slide. I think this is important for everyone to know and understand, and the board is aware of the conversations happening regarding our goals and what the board is engaging in with me around expectations across this year. So the conversations aren't finalized. We're still setting up meetings to finalize the second level of these goals, but it's important for you to understand the priority around improving K-12 literacy rates across our system. Also, the second goal that the board has is ensuring all students make progress towards social emotional wellness. So really looking at the climate and culture at our schools. There's also a goal around improving the physical conditions of facilities and grounds. There's also a goal, the fourth goal, to improve the performance and responsiveness of the Human Resources Division. The fifth goal of ensuring fiscal solvency to preserve local governance of the district. And then the sixth goal of strengthening communication channels to elevate stakeholder engagement and awareness of district goals, initiatives, events, and solutions in response to issues. I will share again that this is the first level of goals. There's conversations happening right now between myself and the board to assign metrics. What is the metric assigned to these particular goals? And what are those high leverage actions that's going to get us to move toward goal achievement? Next slide. Also a reminder, this all started with the equity assessment and those findings. And if you could scroll up a little bit right there. So out of the equity analysis, we saw that there was a need for universal systems. We knew that we're lacking systems as a district. We're lacking structures and alignment. So we know that that needs to happen in years and months to come. One of the second findings that came out was a need for adequate attention to equity. And you've been hearing all of our staff, including myself, talk about our next steps in equity. But also not just equity, access, and also achievement. And then the third finding from the equity analysis was a need for authentic stakeholder engagement and communication. Next slide. So just a reminder, the first stage of the strategic planning process in the first year was really engaging with the community to develop a vivid vision of our why and our what. And our mission was our what, our vision is our why. We also, that first year, started creating a grad profile, which is really the skills that we want our students to have when they graduate. And then we started to lay the groundwork to align our long-range strategic plan to all of the outcomes from our equity assessment or equity analysis. Next slide. Then we've been carefully thinking about our stakeholders and who we're going to engage with. Part of the engagement process has been with our student leadership groups. We understand we still need to do work in that area, parent advisory groups. We have a district guiding coalition that's been instrumental, departmental teams, our district core planning team. We've also had board participation in our meetings, our labor partners participating as well in the leadership team. Next slide. Also, it's important to know the journey that we started the journey in the strategic planning process, July the 21st, with the equity analysis process. And that led to some findings as we shared. And then we put in place a district core planning team that was really working behind the scenes to organize family school meetings. So you can see we had El Cerrito Kennedy Family of Schools meeting, Pinot Hercules, and then De Anza Richmond. And we had 3 series of those meetings with The guiding coalition after each of those meetings, synthesizing that information, getting ready for the next meeting. Next slide. Also, it's important to know that in our engagement process, we've been able to engage and we've received responses from more than 1,600 stakeholders. You can see the breakdown has been mostly from our students. 45% of that 1,600 has been students, 24% student family members, 7% community members, 22% staff members, and 2% district partners. So one of the things that we are doing now is really taking a step back and looking at how we can continue to increase the number of stakeholders that we're engaging with, and especially our students. We're excited that we're going to have the Student Congress back up and running this December, and really wanting to engage with our students in this process fully, but also our Latinx population that was lacking, we found, and also other population groups as well. Next slide. So some of the things that we heard during this process, students are empowered by explicitly anti-racist educators who partner with their families and ensure that they can adapt to an ever-changing world. Also, what came out was that we need to take power in our own unique initiatives, our own destinies, our own end games and careers. And another sentiment or trend that came out was that we need to support a system of learners who own their reality and continuously grow together in pursuit of rigorous academic experiences and equity and opportunity. Next slide. So this is important for the board to see. At a previous board meeting, we had the Guiding Coalition come and present a draft of the mission vision statement. The board sent and provided some feedback, and we've incorporated that feedback as well. This is still in draft form, and we are still in the process of setting a meeting with the board to review this updated version, considering the feedback from the board. So the mission statement, including the feedback, now says to empower learners with the knowledge and the skills necessary to choose their own pathways and follow their own passions with courage and confidence. The vision, taking consideration of feedback, is we aspire to be a learner-centered community that fosters passion-driven lives. And then the work with the Guiding Coalition as well has been around a theory of action. And that is, if we do these things, then we believe that all WCCUSD learners will graduate ready to choose their own pathway and passions. And that is when we learn collectively and collaboratively, when we address challenges with a growth mindset, when we collect actionable data to measure progress and act, when we design around the passions of students and adults, when we align systems and resources toward yearly goals, when we create meaningful opportunities for shared leadership and collective action, when we attract and retain exceptional and effective staff, and when we lead by example to inspire hope and success. Next slide. Our Guiding Coalition has also been at work on the graduate profile. We also have a subcommittee that's continuing to work on the graduate profile, and this is the component that we really want to take a step back on and make sure we have authentic stakeholder engagement, and especially our students. But here's what we've come up thus far. We have a skill, innovative critical thinkers, but also the Guiding Coalition has defined what they should be able to do as well. So with this one, innovative critical thinkers who challenge the status quo and push the boundaries of traditional thinking. Innovative critical thinkers that imagine what is possible when facing challenges. They approach life and learning with curiosity and take appropriate risk when solving problems. The Guiding Coalition also has a skill of healthy in mind and body. And then also a skill of skilled communicators and collaborators. Next slide. I'm sorry, and one more skill, responsible and courageous members of society. Another piece we wanted to share with the board is our Guiding Coalition is now working on core beliefs. That's our values. And you could see that this has come from our equity analysis. So our core beliefs around authentic engagement, we're working on now. Also core beliefs around equitable experiences and outcomes for our students. And then our core beliefs around exceptional systems that support high standards for all of our students. Next slide. We also want to share with you the core planning team that's been involved from the start, and these are the individuals that's been working behind the scenes to pull everything together, all the logistical pieces together. Next slide. And then we have the District Guiding Coalition. And these are the people that's been in from the start and are continuing to work behind the scenes. We meet on a monthly basis. And we have representation from our students to our labor partners, to community groups as well, to teachers, representative from community college and from University of Berkeley as well. Next slide. And then our feeder family schools. And next slide. And then we have some next steps that we're taking. So I shared with you a revised version of our mission vision statement that we're going to be meeting with the board around and get further direction and guidance from them. So setting a meeting is an immediate next step with our board to share with them the updated revised draft of mission vision. Continuing to engage with our students and stakeholders around graduate profile, and then bringing that to the board. Also completing the process for looking at our equity service provider. And I've shared with you that part of this year is going to be looking at our equity statement and our anti-racist stances and how that lives and breathes in every element and fiber of our district in the classrooms. And then continue to work on our core beliefs. Another part of our work this year will be unpacking the mission statement once it's approved, unpacking the vision statement once it's approved, so that anyone that comes into our organization understands the components of our mission and vision. And then another next step is to get very clear on our district goals. And that concludes this portion. If we can go to the next slide. So finally, I wanted to just leave everyone with a message of Thanksgiving and say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And just share the following with you. Thanksgiving, the holiday, was designated by President Abraham Lincoln in 1863. He set aside the fourth Thursday of November and described the purpose of Thanksgiving as a national day of thanksgiving and praise. In our fast-paced society, sometimes we're in such a hurry that we forget to take time to reflect and share what we're grateful for and what we're thankful for. And as I reflected last evening, I came up with the below list of what I'm thankful for. God, my faith, my family, wife, children, my mom, my siblings, the opportunity to work with the board that genuinely cares for kids, the opportunity to work with amazing leaders, administrators, executives, teachers, certificated and classified employees who deeply are committed to showing up every day and giving their very best to our students. Thankful for my best friend. Thankful for friendships, the positive relationships that I have, community, life, good health, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. I'm thankful for the love that I have for people. Thankful for the joy that I have in my heart, laughter, peace of mind, unity, prosperity, good morals, values, and ethics, and a career that I love and enjoy. Crystal and I are spending the Thanksgiving holiday with our family in Dallas, Texas this year. We have a number of family members that will come together to celebrate this season of Thanksgiving. Before dinner, we have a tradition of circling up and sharing our list of what we're thankful for. This year, I'll be sharing the list that I just shared with you. And although not explicitly stated, I wanted to share with you how thankful I am for my WCCUSD family and for the opportunity to continue to serve with you. And as you pull up your tables next week, and if you have the opportunity, please take the time to reflect on your personal list. Finally, I'd like to say that I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving day and that it's spent with the ones that you love and care about. Happy Thanksgiving, WCCUSD. That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Hurst. And so any comments or questions concerning the trustee Reckler?
Thank you. Would we be able to pull back up the guiding coalition slide, please? The guiding coalition slide. I'm sorry, I meant to see if there was a page number. Yeah, that one right there. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to ask, how many parents with children enrolled in our district are on this coalition? Two? Is that correct? That's two parents?
Yes, we've had about 4 students consistently.
You've had 4 parents? Oh, you have Stephanie? Okay, so it's 3. Okay, and then do we have current students? I know that Ms. Flores has graduated.
We haven't had current students, and I think that's the piece that we're looking at, Trustee Reckler, is how to get current students on board.
Okay, and does this group assemble? I guess what I want to ask is attendance. Do all these people attend every meeting, or is there good attendance, or does this group fluctuate? The membership that shows up fluctuate depending on meetings and schedules.
So the expectation is that the Guiding Coalition is there for every meeting. The attendance has been good, but it hasn't been 100% of these individuals, but it has been good.
Okay, I do have a comment on this afterwards. Thank you.
All right, are there trustee Smith Fall?
Thank you. Dr. Hurst, on this slide, I can't see, who is the teacher? Or is there a teacher designated? I don't see it, and I may just be overlooking it.
We have a UTR representative, and that's Caitlin Gallagher. And what we did was we went to each of the labor partners and we've asked them to submit a name or 2 names I think last year we did have a teacher, and then this year we had Miss Gallagher, school psychologist, to volunteer from UTR.
Okay, so Ms. Gallagher is a school psychologist. She's not a classroom teacher.
Correct.
Okay, and then Dr. Hurst, last year, I know that I asked, and I believe Trustee Reckler asked about being a part of, and don't let me speak for you, Trustee Reckler, but I believe I remember being a part of the guiding coalition. And you said that you would get back to us with a yes or a no type of answer. Are you still willing to provide that yes or no answer, or should we take silence as a nope, y'all can't be involved?
I would say just in talking with the Guiding Coalition, they just thought about the dynamics of having board members present in those conversations. So I think from their conversation, it was a no.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that answer, because then I won't have to sit and ponder a phone call, waiting for a phone call to come. It's not coming. Okay, I appreciate that. President Christian, I just have comments left.
Okay, thank you. Are there? All right. Any other comment?
I do have a comment, which is that I think that the coalition is underrepresented of English language learner parents and of special ed parents. So maybe a run through MDAC. I see Stephanie representing DLCAPS, but I don't see anybody representing MDAC. So perhaps there is, she can definitely serve dual duty, but I think that having somebody directly from MDAC is important, and also from CAC, so that you get a parent with a special ed perspective. And I think it's absolutely critical that students get on this immediately. This is about students, and it is critical that their voices and their perspectives resonate throughout this. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a correction. We do have current students. So I stand corrected. We have 2 current students as part of the Guiding Coalition. But as I shared, that's one of the pieces that we want to do better in, is engaging with all of our students. But we have 2 current students part of the Guiding Coalition.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments? Trustee Smith-Fall?
Thank you so much. Dr. Hurst, a couple of comments on the superintendent's report. One, I would love if we made Ruby Bridges a day that we encourage all schools, especially elementary schools, to participate in. We could help push, encourage, and support all elementary schools. In the November the 14th celebration of Ruby Bridges Walk to School, there are organizations out there that give you all the supplies free. The hats, the buttons, the bracelets, the banner, all of those things. So it would just be helping a school helping to support schools who are willing to participate in the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. Again, helping them with a safe location to walk to school, a meeting point to walk to school, adults willing to walk with the children to school. So I would love for us to make that something that we push for schools to do. The other thing is, Dr. Hurst, when I looked at the agenda today, I didn't have all these slides on there, right? The agenda with the superintendent report, it had some of these slides, but it didn't have all of them. So for me, it's a benefit for me to see all the slides, because that's how I formulate my questions, and that's how the community gives questions to me so I can ask them. So I would love to make sure that those 2 things work together. The last thing is, I would love to see more in-classroom teachers on the Guiding Coalition. It doesn't do any good if we don't have administrators and teachers on this Guiding Coalition that can say, this is doable. This is what we need to make sure this is able to happen. I want us to make sure that we are not creating unrealistic expectations, but we're creating the expectations that we then create the supports for, and the resources for, and the understanding of this is what it looks like on the ground. And that comes from having classroom teachers on a Guiding Coalition, that comes from having administrators on the Guiding Coalition, and it does come from having parents on the Guiding Coalitions and students as well. But I want us to make sure that we look at the school community in totality, right? So that includes making sure we have current classroom teachers in that or on that guiding coalition, current students on that guiding coalition, and administrators, current administrators on that guiding coalition. And I understand that board members have a tendency to take the oxygen out of a room, but even just being in a listening capacity will allow us to be engaged in the guiding coalition conversation, not necessarily having to speak. We know how to mute our microphones too, but just being inside the room. So I would hope that you would take that request back to the guiding coalition, that there are board members who want to come in a listening capacity.
Yes,
Thank you so much. I'm
definitely take
complete.
that back. Thank you so much, Trustee Smith Folds. I did capture what you were sharing as well about classroom teachers and the administrators as well, and students, and MDAC and the CAC as well. Thank you.
Thank you. President Christian, I'm complete.
All right, thank you. All right.
We do have a student update as well. I'm going to turn it over to our student trustees.
Hello. We just want to give an update on our plans for the student resource survey. Slide, please. Sorry, thank you. Okay, just as an update, we've been meeting regularly with the Department of Communications, and we discussed the previous questions about accessibility for students with disabilities and IEPs and foreign language translations. And we learned that in terms of special ed students, most of the concerns surrounding that should already be implemented in their IEP. So they would have aides to help them take the survey if needed. And that it has been confirmed with the multilingual department that they are able to translate the student survey into the community's most prominent languages, including Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, and Mandarin. And tomorrow we will be meeting with district staff to discuss the reinstatement of the All Student Congress as well. And today we have a draft survey prepared to show you guys.
So as Trustee Miles mentioned, we've been meeting with the District of Communications to go over the survey and kind of just improve the wording and clarity of the survey, and also to make it easier when it comes to the translation of it into the different languages that the district has. And we chose to put the demographics. If you could go to the bottom of the survey, please. Thank you. Thank you. We chose to put the demographics on the bottom in order to use it as a method to engage students more and to get better quality responses. And a big goal for just as a student trustee and with the implementation of trying to get the All Student Congress back in running is to engage student more and get more responses. And also when it comes to these type of questionnaires and some other edits to the questions are to see where these students are getting their information from on district resources and accessibility and seeing which ones they're already aware of. And just a few of our next steps is we're going to continue meeting with the Department of Communications to kind of just improve the survey a bit more, see what else needs to be done. But some of the next steps would also to be how we're going to get the survey out and how to get the most students response possible. And also again, with the meeting about the All Student Congress. And that's about it.
And we'll turn it over to President to see if there's any questions of the student trustees.
Are there any questions? Trustee Smith Falls.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I like that it's short and concise. Hopefully that'll get more kids to answer it. You know, they don't sit if it's 10 to 15 minutes, right? So you've got it very short and concise. I think that's great. When you scroll down to the bottom of the survey, grade is the only demographic question on there, or was there another demographic question and I didn't see it?
There are more demographic questions. They just weren't shown, I think. But we do have questions about school sites and grade, and I believe race and gender.
Okay, and then under so grade is pretty clear. School site is clear. Race, do you have a plethora of categories, right? Because I didn't see it. And then gender, again, we have to have a plethora of categories, right? So we want to make sure that we are being inclusive with gender and race.
Yes, there are a plethora of categories. I believe these were taken from like what's available on Power School. Evelyn, do you know more about that?
So let me see if I can clear it up just a little bit. So and I didn't see it, but you guys will be able to answer this for me. So when we're looking under gender, do we have female, male, non-binary? Do you know what I'm saying? Like how many?
Yes, there's a female, male, non-binary, other. There's an other option, and prefer not to say it as well, just in case people don't feel comfortable sharing their race or gender.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that answer. I have one more question. Timeline. When do you project that you're going to roll it out? And then I think that you guys said before it's about 2 weeks. You can keep it out about 2 weeks, but when do you think you're going to roll it out? I may have missed that.
Not entirely sure. We still have to correspond with the communications department. When we get the green light from them, we'll be sending it out.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am complete with the questions. Again, great presentation.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Dr. Hurst?
Yes, sir. Before we turn it back over to you, Mr. President, I failed to report out from closed session that there was actually 2 claims that was discussed. So regarding agenda item A 2.2, claim number 613956, the board voted unanimously to reject the claim presented on behalf of an undisclosed minor related to an alleged personal injury. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hurst.
President Christian, may I make a comment?
Are we still in the question form? Are there any other questions? Okay. All right, comment?
Thank you so much. Dr. Hurst, I forgot to mention, and I was reminded by a community member, when we look at the Guiding Coalition, it would be great if we had on there students, parents, teachers who represent our LGBTQIA+ community, to make sure, again, that we're being completely inclusive with the decisions that we're making around having our schools be the best version of themselves. Again, student trustees, thank you for the presentation. Please reach out if you need any help, and I look forward to having the All Student Congress up and running. I'm complete.
All right, thank you. All right. Are there any comments? If not, then we will proceed on with the agenda. We're going to E1, the action items. Student discipline, stipulated expulsion case 2222204.
Thank you. President Christian asked me to report this one. In closed session, we received information pertaining to the recommended stipulated expulsion of student number 222304. Therefore, President Christian, I will move that we approve the stipulated expulsion of student number 222304. And I'll pass it back to you for a second.
All right.
Smith Fall seconds.
All right. And so it's been second. And so So we vote. Start off with our student trustees. Trustee Sapanya.
Pimpania abstain.
Okay, trustee Miles.
Miles abstain.
Okay, trustee Phillips.
Abstain.
Trustee Clark Gonzalez Hoy.
Gonzalez, so yes.
All right. Trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
All right. And trustee Smith Fall.
Smith Folds, yes.
All right. And myself, yes. All right, motion passes. And now we'll go to E2. Increase the project budget for Cameron School.
Good evening, Board, President Christian, Dr. Hurst. Tonight, let me go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. So tonight we come before you to request that we increase the project budget for Cameron and Collins Elementary School for the critical needs project as we work through the 2016 master plan. The Cameron and Collins projects were designed to be heating and ventilation upgrade projects, replacing the antiquated and outdated boiler systems in those schools. These particular projects have required additional improvements required by the state architect's office to include accessibility improvements such as parking accessibility, improvements in the classrooms as far as accessibility to sinks, door hardware, as well as improvements to the restrooms and flooring for accessibility improvements. Some of these items were not in the original scope of the projects. So we went out to public bid for both projects, and on October 20th, 2 contractors had submitted bids, Alton Construction and Strong Construction, and those bids came in $6 million over our project budget. Tonight, we're seeking from the board to increase our project budgets and award the project to Alton Construction this evening. And the total increase to that would be $6 million. This project increase would come from funds that we received from the state, reimbursements for past projects and modernization projects received. We're currently holding a balance of about $30 million in that fund to cover these extra costs, and this cost would not come from Measure R. I'll take any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Clerk Gonzalez Hoy.
Thank you, President Christian. Mr. Freeze, thank you for the presentation. Question that we've been getting a lot since we posted this item last week has been, why are we seeing such a large increase in construction projects? I was wondering if you could talk a little bit of the why.
I think everybody would like to know the answer, including ourselves, right? But a lot of it has to do with COVID and the current conditions in the market and availability of materials. Our contractors are having a hard time sourcing materials as it is, and so they're buying materials in bulk ahead of time, storing them, and they're taking a gamble if they can get the materials and meet our schedule. And so we're seeing markups in that particular area. Labor and costs have been going up tremendously, as we see with our own contracts. Those are some of the things that are affecting our bids. And I think, these bids were within 1% of each other. They're very competitive. I think it's just a sign of where the market currently exists today.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. And my last question, as you mentioned very quickly in your presentation, this funding is going to come from the last bonds, not going to touch Measure R, correct?
That is correct. It comes from state reimbursements that we received on past projects, and it does not come from Measure R.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. President Christian, that was my last question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? I see Trustee Reckler hand.
So following along that same line, is there benefit in waiting until the economy downturns, or?
I would say the only example I can use is that we had originally went out to bid with the Cameron project back in May of this year. We came in over budget on that particular project. We came back to the board and thought we could get a better price for the project by going out and combining these two projects together. During that period of time, that bid increased over $1 million between May and now. Can we shelf them, hold them? Sure we can. Is the economy going to get better and pricing going down? I don't believe that's anybody's gamble. As inflation is up, it may come back down, but we don't know that.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Smith-Fall.
Mr. Freeze, you spoke to this pot of money. How much is in this bucket?
So currently we have about $30 million. And on October 26th, the state board approved another $9.6 million. So that fund would grow to almost $40 million.
Okay, and this $40 million, we use it for these type of projects. Are these the only projects that we can use that money for?
No, but originally these dollars were set aside as they were coming back. It was always to make some of the differences. So if you recall, the original 2016 master plan had $181 million in projects. It only had 164 million, I believe, off the top of my head, that we had available in cash, but we knew dollars were coming in from the state over a period of time as we've been aggressively seeking funds. So these dollars are an account. They can be used for other projects. Currently, they are being used to help fund the 2016 master plan and projects that are still pending to come forward.
Okay, so this money can be shifted to other projects as the board sees fit, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you so very much. President Christian, I'm complete.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Clerk is on the floor.
Thank you, President Christian. Happy to make the motion, but I need a clarification. Mr. Freeze, is it a motion to approve the budget increase for Cameron School, Collins School, and award the contract to lowest responsive bidder? Or is it just to increase the budget?
No, it's both. It's written to increase the budgets for Cameron and Collins, and then award the contract to Alta Construction, the lowest responsible bidder.
Thank you. Then President Christian, I would like to move that we approve the project increase for Cameron School and Collins School and award the contract for the lowest responsible bidder, Alta Construction, Inc.
Reckler will second.
All right, it's been moved, it has been second. And now we go to the vote. Or comments?
President Christian, I have a comment.
All right, go ahead.
Dr. Hurst, I would love for the board to have a conversation about this bucket of money and the correlation with the master building plan. Mr. Freeze, I forgot the name of what you just said, the 2016 building plan.
It's the 2016 master plan.
There you go, the 2016 master plan. So I would love for us to have a conversation about this pocket of money and that plan, and the board gives some direction to district about how those funds should be used. So I would love if we could have a conversation about that. I'm complete.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments? All right, and now we go to the vote. Start with student trustees Sapanya.
Sumpanya, yes.
All right, trustee Miles.
Miles, yeah.
All right, trustee Phillips.
Nay.
All right. Trustee and clerk Gonzalez.
Gonzalez, yes.
All right. Trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
All right. Trustee Smith-Fall.
Smith-Folds, yes.
All right. And myself, yes. All right, motion carried. All right. And now we go to safety F1, safety and staff updating.
We have several members from our executive cabinet that's going to be presenting. Among them is Mr. Booker, Ms. Liz Sanders, LaShante Smith, and Dr. Greenwood. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Booker first.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst, and good evening, esteemed board. Tonight, we're going to give you an update with regard to physical safety, COVID safety, what we're doing with regard to social emotional safety, as well as our communication, crisis communication efforts. Like Dr. Hurst said, LaShante Smith will present on the social emotional safety, and Ms. Liz Sanders will present on the communication efforts. Next slide, please. COVID update. We are currently still doing group tracing at all our sites, and that is for folks that were exposed to a positive case on site. LSA is doing that testing, and they do it based on a schedule that is given by one of our nurses that are responsible for our group tracing model. We also continue to distribute at-home test kits as needed at our sites. But as of this week, we have given the sites at-home test kits to supply to every staff and student for the Thanksgiving break. As far as our testing hub, we are currently doing testing at the district office Monday through Friday from 8 to 4 p.m. We have looked at the numbers. We are looking at changing after the break to go to testing on Mondays and Wednesdays at the district office from 8 to 4. And at the Ohlone site, we will reopen that site on Wednesdays from 8 to 4. We also have additional resources that is available to our staff, student, and families. If you're a Kaiser member, you can go to kp.org website and get free test kits. There also is administered testing available through CVS. We also have resources with the county health, and that site is at Richmond, the 25th and Nevin location. And then we have the state testing site, which is at Contra Costa College. And those, if you want to use those sites, you have to schedule either an online appointment or make a phone call. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about physical safety. And so part of our deal with physical safety, as well as social emotional safety, is providing a safe and secure learning environment. Every WCCUSD school is required to provide a safe and secure learning environment. Measures that schools have adopted to promote security of our facilities and increase awareness of security-related topics include safety staff deployment, district prevention strategies, emergency drills, curriculum with the SEL, our social emotional safety, what our See Something, Say Something campaign is about, and our district crisis communication efforts. Next slide, please. Our school-based safety staff consist of campus safety specialists, and they are assigned to our secondary school sites. As far as the campus safety supervisors, they are assigned to every high school and are an integral part of our school-based safety and climate teams. The elementary school safety and climate teams are composed of a school-based administrator and school staff. This team gets guidance from the district safety department and the director of culture and climate. Team members from the secondary and elementary schools collaborate with the district office safety and climate staff on serious incidents, emergency planning, and response to social emotional safety. Next slide, please. As you can see on this slide, this is our current deployment of our CSs. We have at the high school level, we have 5 per site. That includes the supervisor. And as you can see at the middle schools, we have 2 to 3, depending on the number of students at that site. We also have 2 district rovers, and we have 2 disaster preparedness safety officers. So that is a total of 48 FTEs for CSs and the DPSOs. We also have 10 supervisors, and we currently have 2 vacancies in the CSS program. Next slide, please. As far as our strategy, these that's on this slide, these are the things that we have really focused on at our sites. And that is our one point of access for all of our sites, really controlling access to our campuses and making sure that people are checking in with the front office and really having a robust visitor management system. As far as grades 6 through 12 and all staff, they should be wearing school IDs during instructional hours. All of our schools have been posted with the appropriate signage. Our emergency operation plans have been updated and they are in a flip chart form for staff ease of use. Classroom doors remain closed during instructional hours, and this is to help in case of a lockdown. We also are training and updating our run, hide, fight protocol and are currently presenting that to all sites. As far as our See Something, Say Something campaign, it's either you can talk to a site administrator, a trusted adult on campus, or use the anonymous reporting line, which is posted at each site. And that is 844-510-2849. Next slide, please. We also continue to do drills, which many of these drills are required by the California Department of Education. We have an automated system that is a Google form that is submitted once these drills are completed. That goes to a spreadsheet that is housed with the district safety department. Each drill should define what a CSS and staff role is in the drill. Students should have a clear direction for these drills. And the training options for these drills include active shooter, lockdown, shelter in place, and evacuations. As you can see in this slide, we do drills with regard to fire, earthquake, take cover, lockdown, shelter in place, and active shooter. Next slide, please. I'm going to stop it right here so you can ask questions with regard to physical safety, if that is appropriate, Dr. Hurst, or do you want to continue with the rest of the presentation? So I will turn it over to LaShante Smith for the social emotional safety portion.
President Christian, may I ask a question before we go on?
Okay. Yeah.
I have a question to you, President Christian. It's a procedural question.
Yeah, I'll come to be at the end, and then let me just say there'll be like three questions, and a comment, right?
Whatever you decided, how long for comment?
1 minute for comment.
So President Christian, we're waiting to the very end of the presentation, all of the slides, to ask 3 questions? Or are we going breakdown from Mr. Booker just gave us one presentation, well, one part of the presentation, then Ms. Smith has given us another part. Are we doing it at the very end of everyone's part, or are we doing it section by section?
For the whole thing. Yeah, for the whole thing. The whole. So we move to the next presentation.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, great. All right, so I am going to be giving the update on social and emotional safety and bringing back to the board what we have been doing regarding the social emotional safety of our students. So last time I spoke, I talked about us being in the kind of time frame and period of doing our social and emotional behavior risk screener known as the SABRS. And so our screener has been implemented and we have been looking at the results so far. So as you see on your screen, we have 60% of our students who have been screened from grades 3 to 12. The largest percent of students with the percent of students with the largest percentage rate was in our middle schools. So 7th and 8th graders had a 76% participation rate, followed by our 3rd to 6th grade students who had a 62% participation rate, and our 9th to 12th grade students with a 50% participation rate. Out of all of the participation so far, what we have found is that the majority of our students are coming up as low risk. 25% of our students had some risk, and 3% of our students had high risk scores. So what are we doing with this information? We're meeting with school sites to review the data, and we're doing a focus on our high risk students. And so by that, what I mean is that we are focusing on the students who had the highest risk for developing emotional concerns or behavioral concerns. And what we are doing with that is looking through the data, disaggregating it, making sure that we're checking in with students, referring them to supports, but we're also disaggregating the data in a way that we are able to then develop a tier 1 interventions that can be used across our settings based on what we're seeing. Next slide. And then I just wanted to highlight some climate trends right now. So far to date, we have 551 out of school suspensions. The majority of our suspensions are for cause attempted or threatened to cause physical injury. So those are where our fights are logged. But I do want to highlight to date, we have no guns found on our campus, and we're continuing to norm around our fights. Our fights right now are lower than they have trended in the past from a year-to-year mark, but we're continuing to focus on interventions for fights as well as other means of correction. Next slide. These are just some more supports that we have in place for social emotional safety. We're continuing professional development and support for SEL implementation. So I've spoke to the board before and bringing back to you that we have 3 district adopted SEL curricula. The first is Second Step, the second is Sanford Harmony, and then the third is Wayfinder. We've offered professional development for all of the sites using this curricula, and we continue to offer it so that sites feel comfortable in implementing an evidence-based curriculum. We also have a central professional development that we have a teacher track, an admin track, a classified track, as well as a climate team track. And in this professional development, we're emphasizing social emotional learning as well as the implementation of the positive behavior interventions and support framework. And so these professional developments are held monthly. We're creating resources for sites to use based on current trends. So continuing to monitor discipline data to determine what trends we're seeing so that we can support sites with, again, universal interventions, continuing with the safety walkthroughs, and then continuing with central supports for students. So we do have social workers tied to each school family, and these social workers are providing, in addition to what the site provides, they are providing individual counseling, group counseling, as well as case management support. And we're continuing to contract with various community-based organizations to address other trends that we're seeing on campus. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to Liz.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, and thank you, President Christian and members of the board. We will discuss how communication systems support effective emergency management, specifically how our communication system exists within all 4 phases of emergency management. In terms of the first phase of emergency management, which is mitigation, when our communication channels are effective and accessible to all members of our community, stakeholders are willing and able to report concerns. So when we think about how our communication systems support the mitigation of any emergencies or safety issues, we think about this as a long-range goal. In terms of the preparedness phase of emergency management, this is where we focus on our one-way and two-way communication systems, which for our district is Parent Square, our training of staff in those systems, and our crisis communication plan. In the response phase, this is when we focus on the one-way flow of verifiable information to stakeholders in order to increase safety and mitigate harm in the instance of any emergency. And in the recovery phase, this is when we think about one-way and sometimes two-way communication of both information and resources in order to reinforce our communities and safety when there has been a safety issue. Next slide, please. Tonight, we will focus on specifically the systems that exist within West Contra Costa Unified for preparedness, response, and recovery, current improvements that we have made to these systems this school year, and upcoming improvements that we are making. Next slide. In the preparedness phase, current improvements that we want to highlight that have been made this school year, we have rolled out Parent Square, which is our system for one-way and two-way communication with families. Parent Square integrates with PowerSchool and automatically translates to nearly all home languages, which is a huge asset for our community. Parent Square allows for 2 times the numbers of characters in a text alert that Parent Link or Blackboard did, which is great because text alerts are often what we're sending out to families during an emergency. And Parent Square allows us to send 300 characters of information versus only about 150 characters of information, which is what we had access to in Parent Link or Blackboard. So we know those messages are still brief. They are now able to be longer and they are able to be automatically translated into nearly all home languages. Parent Link, which was our past system provided by Blackboard, has been officially phased out. We are still running reports to identify which school sites are still using Parent Link or Blackboard so that we can work directly with those teams to make sure that everybody's using Parent Square. And so then improvements that are in progress for this school year, we are training more and more staff at sites. There was an initial training when Parent Square was rolled out. We're now doing follow-up trainings at sites. And as we do those follow-up trainings and also as we manage specific incidents at sites, we're changing staff permissions in order to support crisis response when needed. And what this means is that sometimes at specific sites, we're noticing that the permissions that may have been given to certain individuals are not the correct permissions to make sure that the right amount of, or the right messages can be sent out quickly and imminently. So if there's a way that the front office structure of a specific school site is managed, where someone who didn't have the permissions to send out smart alerts needs those permissions, we're identifying that on a site-by-site basis and sending those out. Am I getting feedback from my microphone? I feel like I'm hearing some. All right, I'm audible to you. Great. We are also revising our crisis communications handbook with input from internal and external stakeholders to make sure that our crisis communication systems that are documented are the ones that are most effective and are incorporating what we're learning on the ground. When we finalize this revised crisis communication handbook, we'll also make sure that it includes screenshots of our new Parent Square system so that folks are supported to use the right tools in Parent Square in the moment. Next slide. In the response phase, this is what this looks like during an incident. So if we have an incident that requires emergency response and communications, the communications director will work directly with district staff, site administrators, and any responding law enforcement agency to determine the verifiable information that is able to be released. And we release whatever information that we can as soon as we are able to. During the incident, the communications team, and again, I want to emphasize that when these systems are working well, it's because I lead an exceptional team. And so we work together to support site staff to send smart alerts via Parent Square. These alerts are received via text and phone call. So that's one of the questions that we received about Parent Square. Do families have to download the app in order to receive the emergency messages that we are sending out? The answer is no. So Parent Square is our system for sending these messages, but families receive them via text and phone call when those are the methods that are selected. They might also receive them via email when that is the option that we select, and families who have chosen to download the app might receive notifications in the app. But during these incidents, we're typically sending things via text and phone call because we want to make sure that urgent information gets to families urgently and doesn't get buried in an email. The maximum characters of a text smart alert, which is typically what we're sending during an incident, is 300. And bilingual communications team members and district translators will manually adjust the Spanish translation whenever possible. And what we mean by whenever possible is whenever we are able to ensure that we can slow down and review the automatic translations from Parent Square. Sometimes the connotation of words that come out of the automatic translation are not the most appropriate or effective words. So we do have bilingual communications team members and district translators who will adjust those whenever possible. Next slide. After an incident, so this is what happens in the recovery phase. And it's a parallel process, slightly different communications. The communications director will work with district staff, site administrators, and any responding law enforcement agency to write an incident summary, including any community-wide next steps and resources. Then the communications team supports the site staff to send this incident summary also as a smart alert, but in this case, we would send that smart alert as an email and a phone call because after an incident, we're prioritizing getting as much information as we can to the community rather than prioritizing the speed at which these communications go out. And similarly, bilingual communications team members and district translators will manually adjust the Spanish translation whenever possible. And also whenever possible, we will support the site administrators to record the voice message so that members of school communities are receiving those messages in the voice of their school site leaders. Next slide.
And we are complete with our presentation.
All right, thank you. And now we'll go to another presentation.
Good evening, board and community. Next slide. From previous presentations, we had presented for classified updates that we had a total of 440 vacancies. And 160 of those vacancies were paraprofessional 3 vacancies, and some of those vacancies were covered by contractors, excuse me. But what the HR department did, we went and looked at all of those vacancies and we discovered that there were some discrepancies and we wanted to reconcile those vacancies. So the HR team went and called sites and departments and we reviewed our position control reports. Next slide. And so this is currently the vacancies for the classified. And I had to split it because it was a long list. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so currently right now we are at 155.8 vacancies when we did the reconciliation. Next slide. Currently for certificated elementary, we're at 20. Next slide. For secondary, we're at 16.6. For special education, we're at 26. And I'd like to give an update on special education and give you a timeline on that. For the teachers that are coming from the Philippines, they're due to arrive on December 15th. And there are 27 teachers that are coming. So we estimate between December 15th and January 15th, their visa paperwork will need to be processed. And then the special education department will be providing training during that time period. And we estimate somewhere between January 15th and January 30th, HR will be able to onboard and place those teachers in classrooms. Next slide. The last 2 days, November 14th and 15th, we had with our visiting teachers program, teachers that come in from Mexico and Spain and that support our DLI programs. The representative from the California State Department of Education visits different school sites. And yesterday and Monday and Tuesday, they visited Downer, Dover, Lake, Richmond High, Lincoln, Chavez, and Washington. And we got glowing reports on all the teachers that were classrooms that were visited, and they're looking forward to continue our partnership with those programs to support DLI programs. So some of our next steps is continue to update our HR processes. We're planning for our December HR workshop. We're continually to sign up for job recruitment fairs. Last week, I was able to attend an Education First, which was a community practice. I learned about different teaching residency models, and I'd like to announce that we just received a $500,000 continuing teacher residency grant. And so we're going to be recruiting for specifically teachers of color. And also learned about apprenticeship models where we can possibly grow our own. And so I'll be working with my coordinator of teacher residency on how we can use these models effectively in our district to recruit teachers. Next, and also I want to remind everybody of our next training, which is November 30th. It will be online virtually, and you can use the QR code or the website to sign up, and it's from 6 to 7 p.m. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
President Christian, I'd like to put a motion on the floor.
All right.
I move in light of the fact that it's 9 o'clock and we have an hour and a half left, that we are allowed to ask more questions than just 3. Specifically, I move that the board is allowed to ask 8 questions.
I second the motion.
All right. Are there any other questions? Huh? Any comments on the motion? All right, we go to the vote. Trustee Sapanya,
Campania,
all right, trustee Miles,
Miles, yeah.
all right, trustee Phillips,
Yeah.
all right, trustee Clerk Gonzalez Hoy,
Gonzalez Hoy, no.
all right, trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
all right, trustee Smith-Fall,
Smith Folds, yes.
all right, and yes. Motion carries. Going back to the presentation, is there any more in the presentation? Are there any more questions on the presentation? No. Is there any more in the presentation? Are there any more presentations? So now we. All right, now questions. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see, trustee Reckler, trustee Phillips, and trustee Smith-Fall, did you have your hand?
Yes, sir, I have my hand up.
Okay. All right, trustee Reckler.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. First question is if I could get some information on CSSs. I saw the Pinole Middle has 3 CSSs, but Korematsu has 2. And so I'm wondering how those formulations, how that got figured out, because I am sure that Korematsu has way more students than Pinole Middle. And it was also noted in Korematsu's SPSA in their resource inequities, what they'd love to have is another safety officer on campus.
Thank you for the question. So what we do is we use a matrix, and it's based on not only population, but the number of incidents related to fights, weapons, et cetera. So that's how it's determined in terms of how many we put on site. However, we are looking at revising the matrix to account for some of the factors that you talked about.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about the screener. Would you be able to describe, is Ms. Smith still on the line? Would you be able to describe just how the screener is administered? Is it a online multiple choice, or could we just get some data about how that is administered and perhaps some of the questions?
Yeah, it's administered online and students access it through their Clever accounts. examples of the question relate to feelings of sadness, hopelessness, things around depression, academic readiness, attention, as well as other like more externalizing behaviors. It's about 20 questions, so it's a very quick screener.
And for the high schools, how is that administered? Do you know? I haven't heard anything about it. So
It's administered on Clever as well. So students log into Clever through their Chromebooks.
and then when a student is determined to be in the mid or high section, what happens? What's the process?
Yeah, so students high risk, we compiled all of the names of the students who are high risk, and we're making sure that an adult makes contact with them to do like a secondary screener. And so what that would mean is sometimes when students take screeners, you can get some false positives where students report one thing just because of a situational kind of incident or how they may be feeling for that day. So we want to make sure that adults are making contact with those students to just kind of do another level of questioning, and then from there determining if further supports are needed.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to communications. So I am curious how one might adjust communications to distant contacts. So just I had some absences in my family and contacts from way far away got notified and kind of a little awkward, I don't know. So I was just wondering how that is set up or how those contacts are chosen.
Absolutely, that is something that we are working to refine and adjust. And every family has their own structure and who they want notified. So it is a little bit of more of an art than a science in terms of us figuring out how to make sure that the way contacts are listed in PowerSchool and the people who get contacted, who we set up in Parent Square to be contacted, is the right fit for all of our families. We do have to set certain rules about who gets contacted. And some of our families, we have multiple step parents and they want to make sure that everyone is contacted. In other families, that means that that third contact is not someone they feel should be contacted on a regular basis. So that is something that families have brought to our attention and something that we are in conversation about as a department and working to find the best solution that can work for the majority of our families.
So it's not something I can do myself.
So certainly reach out to us and any parent who has a similar concern is able to reach out to the communications department and say, this is the issue that I'm experiencing. That's important data for us to have. I'm looking at my team across the room. Feel free to let me know. I have my Parent Square guru across the room. And so feel free to let me know if there is a specific adjustment on an individual basis. My belief from our conversation as we've been working on this issue as it has come up from families is that we need to find the appropriate rule to set that works for the majority of our families. And I'm seeing a nod.
Okay. And then finally, of course, I wrote some things down that now I don't understand. Can you tell us about the grant that was awarded?
So we awarded the implementation grant so that we can start the residency next year. So we can start recruiting this year for at least 20 spots for teachers to be able to pay their tuition, part of their tuition.
Is that the $500,000 grant that was?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay. And then I have one comment at the end. Thank you.
All right, any other question? Trustee Phillips.
Thank you very much. My first question is, will you please give us an update on where we are with discussions with local law enforcement?
Yes, I'll start and then Mr. Booker, you can jump in. Our last conversation was with the city of San Pablo, with the chief. he actually talked a lot about the Jewel program. He actually was one of the few that we felt that had something substantive that they could hand us right away. Something written down, and which is what we were asking all of our chiefs to do. I think none of them are talking about SRO programs, but they are defining what a positive relationship would look like with WCCUSD. From that, what we shared is that we would start community engagement in January with San Pablo community. What I had shared with the board is that once we got everything written down from all of the chiefs, then we would start community engagement. And we feel that San Pablo is the first city that's ready to engage in that community conversation. So we did share with them that we would come back to them and then start that conversation with their community first in January timeframe.
And just to
Mr. Booker, you want to add?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Dr. Hurst was saying, I actually talked to the chief of San Pablo this morning. And he said that after the break, he would be willing to come together to look at how we develop a strategy and collaborate and make sure that we get this information out to their community. Additionally, he has talked to his city manager, and the city manager is wanting to move forward with whatever plan we develop.
Great, thank you very much. My second question is, and it's a big question, but what are we doing to teach our students about boundaries and what they can do or should do when people violate their boundaries? And when I'm talking about boundaries, I'm specifically talking about sexual boundaries.
Let LaShante maybe answer that question.
Yeah, so what we've been doing is looking at our trend data so far related to sexual harassment on campus, sexual assault, sexual batteries, those kind of ed code violations. And based on that right now, we are developing essentially a PowerPoint that our social work team is working on, not only about sexual assaults and sexual harassment, but also around how to report when you are not feeling comfortable on campus, how to be an upstander, how not to be a bystander when you see things. And so this is going to be our first kind of rollout of just some explicit teaching around a variety of topics, including that one, Mr. Phillips.
So this PowerPoint, are we developing a curriculum for the students, or is this just like a PowerPoint?
So right now, as a universal intervention, what we're developing is a PowerPoint that is geared toward our secondary sites on the topics I just suggested. As a secondary kind of intervention, what we are doing is working with our social work team to kind of create an intervention for students who are more at risk for some sexualized behaviors. And so we're a part of a county consortium right now on social emotional learning. And there's different interventions that school sites around or school districts around our county are kind of using as preventative methods. And so again, we would do the tier 1, which would be kind of like a presentation, explicit teaching around a variety of topics. And then tier 2 would be more targeted supports. In addition to that, we're reaching back out to some community-based organizations who have specific kind of curriculum around students who are more at risk for exhibiting sexualized behaviors in the classroom. Yes, I hope that answers that question.
Is there a reason why we are not teaching or planning to teach elementary school students about their space? Because little kids, that stuff happens to them all the time.
Yeah, our SEL curricula addresses like keeping safe space, safe boundaries, how to tell someone you're like kind of in my space, but it doesn't go further around other boundaries, but that's something that we can definitely look at and address. Because right now we were focused on secondary sites, but I am taking notes and can report back to you on what we can do around elementary boundaries.
In line with that set of questions, what are we doing around teaching curriculum regarding bullying? And I'm asking specifically, not just secondary, but also elementary.
Yeah, so the curriculum that we're implementing in our elementaries as part of our tier 1 curriculum addresses bullying specifically. And so the curricula that we are using, as I stated before, is Second Step, Sanford Harmony, and Wayfinder, and they all have modules specific to bullying. But in addition to that, across our sites, we will be creating, in that PowerPoint I talked about, one of the topics is how to be an upstander and what a bystander is.
And that's for elementary, secondary?
Correct.
Both.
Correct.
Thank you. And then my last set of questions, I think I might have 1 or 2 left, but 2, I was just whispered to me 2. My last 2 questions are about food, actually. And I think food safety is actually something that's important. What are we doing? Because we're about to go on winter break. And let me just give you a little context. There's a synagogue that does work around feeding district children. It's Temple Beth Hillel. And they've been doing work for some years around feeding district children, because we don't do that in the winter, even though we do it in the summer. What are we doing, or what can we do to actually feed our kids in the winter, and or partner with the synagogue to make sure that our kids are not hungry when we shut down in the winter?
I think that's a good question. I'm not sure, Robert, if you know with Barbara Jellison, what we're doing, if she has any plans.
I will certainly have to report back on that. I don't have the exact plan for the winter break, but I will get that information reported out first thing in the morning.
Thank you very much. I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Clerk Gonzalez-Hoy.
Thank you, President Christian. I think that Trustee Smith-Folds was before me.
Trustee Smith-Folds.
Thank you, Clerk Gonzalez-Hoy. Thank you, President Christian. My first question is, Dr. Hurst, we're wanting to hand out test kits to every student and staff member before the Thanksgiving break. Who's going to do that? Are we leaving it to the teachers to do it? Are we leaving it to the principals to do it? Who on staff is going to hand those tests out?
So Trustee Smith-Folds, the principals are responsible for the logistics at their site. And how they've done it in the past is either they've had an assembly where they pass them out, or they have done it class by class, but it's up to the site on how they want to pass out those test kits.
Thank you. And along the same lines, I know that there was communication sent out to the community saying that you need to we encourage you to bring back a negative test result, right? And again, work with my phrasing here. So who's going to check those results? Does a classroom teacher check the results when they come in first period? Does every student have to turn it into the office? Are we having admin check? Do CSS check it when kids come through the gate? How is that going to work?
Like I was saying with the logistics for passing them out, the logistics for the recovery of the test would be based on the site principal. Also, there are a number of ways that we told them that they can do that. So each principal has the responsibility to whichever staff they're going to use to collect those, or not collect them, but just get verification of proof.
And my third question on this topic is, we said teachers and staff. Are we including the parent volunteers who volunteer on the yard, the parent volunteers who volunteer in the cafeteria? Are they able to get these tests also, or is it just the number has been allocated for parents? I'm sorry, the number has just been allocated for teachers and staff at a site?
Yeah, the numbers were based on the allocated staff at the site and the students.
Okay, thank you for that. And then my fourth question is, Mr. Booker, when we have K-8 schools or we have elementary schools that go up to 6th grade, are those 6th grade students wearing badges?
From what we've seen at sites, some sites do, some sites aren't there yet. So we do have a tool that we use to monitor that. And so with the sites that need support, Mr. Franco and myself, as well as other safety department members, give them the support they need to get people to start wearing those badges.
Okay, thank you for that. And then Ms. Smith, do staff members get the social emotional screening? Teachers, admin?
Do they get the data?
Or do they get this? Can they take the test? Like, are we screening our staff members for social emotional well-being, even if it's not the exact one that we use for students? Do we have something in place for our teachers and staff?
Not at this time.
Okay. And then thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Sanders, I tried I have 3 students in the district, so I get parent square notifications often. I tried to reply back to one, and when I tried to reply back to it through email, not through the app, but through email, I got the following response. We're sorry your email did not reach the intended recipient. This mailbox is not monitored. Please contact your school directly with questions or comments, or visit the Parent Square website. So for me to comment back, I need to go to the website. Is that what it's saying to me, instead of commenting back with the two-way conversation through email?
Can you forward me the specific email so that I can investigate?
Absolutely.
Thank you. We do sometimes do one-way communication on Parent Square and sometimes do two-way communication on Parent Square. In the case of an emergency, sometimes we do one-way communication so that we can make sure that site staff are able to focus on the safety issue at hand and don't get bogged down in communications. But then we might turn the after incident might be two-way, for example. Sometimes it just stays one way.
Thank you so much. I will send that over to you because it could be user error on my part. I may have to go through a different app or the website to do it, but I will forward it to you. My last question is, Dr. Greenwood, can you reconcile with me the vacancies that show up on EdJoin versus the vacancies that we see in your presentation?
Yes, so the number of vacancies that are on EdJoin are potentially vacancies that we've posted for next year, because we're already planning and want people to start applying for next year's while we're out recruiting. So that's where the difference is. And we have classified and we have certificated. So I just checked it and I see that there are potentially new vacancies that we're trying to recruit for now.
Thank you so much for that answer. President Christian, I'm complete. If we're allowing comments, I have a comment.
Thank you. Clerk, so there's,
Thank you, President Christian. My first two questions are for Mr. Booker. Mr. Booker, thank you for your presentation. Is the central testing available also during the breaks, or is it going to become available after the break?
That would be after the break.
After the break. And then just to confirm, it's Monday and Fridays, right? Or was it Monday and Wednesdays?
It would be Monday and Wednesday, and that was based on the numbers that we were looking at for the entire week. So based on those numbers, the most optimal times would be Monday and Wednesday at the district office. But then we're reopening the Ohlone site for Wednesdays from 8 to 4.
Thank you. And are we still partnering with the county on vaccination clinics?
Yes.
Are those going around to sites, or where are those happening?
So Mr. Julio Franco is responsible for that, and he collaborates with the site to see if they want those vaccine clinics at their site. There's some paperwork that has to be filled out, and then it's submitted to the county.
Thank you. My next question is for Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith, I'm glad to hear there's been a reduction of fights and weapons in schools from the data that we've seen year by year. You mentioned 551 out of school suspensions this year. Is that a decrease, increase, or is that kind of what we've seen the last few years?
For total number of suspensions?
Yeah, like last year at this time, were we seeing more or less?
It's a slight decrease, and I can actually follow up and get you the exact year to year numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then my last few questions are for Dr. Greenwood. Dr. Greenwood, I saw in the classified openings that there are 97 food service openings. I just want to say, how are we functioning with 97 food service openings? Is it for mostly central, or is it for the sites?
It's both.
It's both, okay.
And so there's some reconciliation that we're still working on. And like I said, we called around to departments and sites. And so we wanted to have clear numbers to figure out what was going on with that 440 initial number that we had. And so therefore we are working, and there's some shifting of positions and position control. So that's why that number is high right now. So we're working on that between me and Dr. McIntyre's office right now.
Thank you. And my next question is about the Mexico-Spain partnership. I'm glad to see that it's coming back. How long do we expect those teachers that we're recruiting from those two countries to stay in our system?
Generally, they can stay between 2 and 5 years. And so the hope is that if they get good ratings and good support from us, they will stay the max of 5 years. And generally, most of them have.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much. And then how many do you expect that we're gonna have to recruit from those two countries this year for the following year?
I think last year I was really disappointed because I requested 10 and I only got 2. And so I believe that was because of the pandemic. And so hopefully I will put a high number out for requests this year. And so then I will go from there and we see how many we can get. But then we will also, partner with other people and universities as well, because I have some feelers out there right now to see what other supports we can get for DLI programs within the district.
Thank you, Dr. Greenwood. President Christian, that was my last question.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Miles? You have
Hi.
a question?
Yeah, I have 3 questions. The first question is about COVID safety. So there, like at my school specifically, I can speak for other schools because I've not talked to other people, but we have a lot of announcements calling students out from classes. So like, if you're in so-and-so's first period, can you please come to the quad for COVID testing? And we have at least 3 to 5 maybe per day. Is that like normal, or is that alarming? Is that something that we should be concerned about with the amount of people getting pulled out of class? Because these announcements do disrupt class time, so what are your thoughts on that?
So we do understand that it does have a certain disruption to teaching and learning. However, the only testing that is done on site is for group tracing. And so the group tracing model, because LSA is doing the testing, anyone that is being sent down has to be registered with LSA. So if they are registered, they're being called down because they have to be tested, not because they may be positive, but because they were exposed to a positive case on site.
Okay. I also have a question about what are they called? The school like drills and the physical safety plan. Is anyone actually checking to see if those procedures are being implemented in schools? Like let's say the earthquake drill. I don't remember that happening. So unless I wasn't at school, that didn't occur. Also, does anyone actually check to see if students wear their IDs to school? Because that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, so we do have a system that we use in terms of reporting drills. The site is responsible for reporting out that drill. In the case of an active shooter drill, we do have district safety personnel that does observe those drills, as well as somebody from a public safety agency. If a drill is not done or within a required time, we contact that site to make sure that they're doing their drills. As far as monitoring the lanyards, we do impromptu safety walks. And that's one of the things that we look for, is if people are complying with the lanyards. And so although we have seen that there have been a number of students that aren't wearing the lanyards, if we ask them for their ID, they do show us the IDs. So it's just a matter of making sure that we're supporting the sites to get the students to wear those during instructional hours.
Okay. And my last question is about the teachers who are coming in from out of the country. Is there anything in place to help them feel more welcomed in like the WCCUSD community? Because I know that a lot of teachers who have came from the Philippines, like including my mom, she's from the Philippines, they're faced with a lot of racism, especially after COVID-19. A lot of people, like students especially, making fun of their accents, and it's not the most welcoming environment. So is there anything in place to help people feel more comfortable in the transition?
Yes, that's definitely the plan, that HR and SPED are joining together to during that period of time when they're getting processed. We're going to do some onboarding and some training during that time period. So that definitely is what me and Miss Sonia Neely Johnson are working on, culturally relevant training.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No more questions. Comments? Okay. Trustee Ratcliffe?
I do have one comment if I can make it. It's just that now, I think I think now we have better systems around data and comparative data. So for the next update, I think that you can really start to build out some data either this year to last year or last period that you have made this presentation to the next one, just around different metrics around safety, number of screenings, number of vacancies, and those sorts of things. I can send in the list of some comparatives. Thank you.
Trustee Smith-Fall?
Thank you so much. Dr. Hurst, I really want us to be clear about when we ask sites and principals to come up with a plan. about how we're going to do something, and we don't give them the space in the room to be able to implement that plan. It then just becomes kind of all out of sorts, and it becomes on the site to comply to what the district is asking them. We have to provide the resources, the support, and a concrete answer to how something's going to get done. We have schools that have 1,400 kids in it, and we want every kid to get a test. And that's a lot. We have schools that have 200 kids in them, and it's still a lot for one person to come up with the plan. And we're asking so much of our teachers, our staff, our SCALs, our parent volunteers. We're asking a lot. It doesn't mean that the test shouldn't be given. It means that we have to give principals the room to plan for it to happen. I also want to make sure that we are in compliance with the drills, and make sure that Ms. Smith, we give you the room and the support to come up with ways to screen our teachers and our staff, because we know that they're suffering. I'm complete.
All right, thank you. Trustee Phillips.
Thank you. So first, with Parent Square, Trustee Smith Folds, it's not just you. You have to log in to respond, because when I get emails from Parent Square, I can't just respond back either. I have to literally log in for it to go to the person. So just for convenience for parents, it's a little cumbersome. The other thing is, I would absolutely love to see us develop a curriculum around sexual boundaries and what to do when those boundaries are being violated, how to deal with the violator and how to talk to adults as well. And I would like to see that happen at every age level. As far as the drills are concerned, we've been at the same elementary school for like 6 years now. There has not been an active shooter drill. And then lastly, I think it's a great idea around making sure that folks who come to teach here from other countries have support around cultural sensitivity and racism. But at the same time, people are dealing with racism and cultural insensitivity currently who are already here. And maybe we should do something about that as well.
Thank you, President Christian. Staff, thank you so much for the presentation. First, I want to give kudos to Mr. Booker and your team, the CSSs. I went to visit a couple secondary sites with Dr. Hurst, and I actually saw a lot of students wearing their badges and following the procedures. So I was really impressed. I think maybe we have to do a visit at the ANSA soon to check what Ms. Miles was talking about, because we definitely have to follow up there, but I just want to give you kudos there. Secondly, I wanted to congratulate Dr. Greenwood on that grant. That's awesome. And Trustee Miles actually mentioned what I was going to talk about, which is the partnership with Mexico and Spain teachers. We have to foster, and Filipino teachers, we have to foster those individuals that are coming to be with us. Because I have heard from them that they do feel very isolated. And when they start teaching, teaching in Mexico is very different than teaching here. And same with the Philippines and Spain. So they have to get a crash course on what it is to teach here first. So I would encourage to make that part of the new teacher orientation for next year. But thank you.
See no other comments. C1. Yes. One that was pulled early. We're going back to C1 and we wrap it up. Trustee Redmond.
Thank you. So on C1, I had a question for Dr. McIntyre. I asked earlier, I just wanted to follow up. So in some of the year-to-date budget categories, you are over your available budget. It's fine because for the year you're under, but I was just wondering if you were in fact over on those categories, or if something else was going on.
That's actually a great catch, and thank you for the question. We recently rotated some duties in the way where the staff who's accounting for the expenditures of certain types of expenditures, and what you witnessed is essentially where typically we've encumbered expenditures, meaning we've got a contract, we know we're going to spend them, and when the expense comes in, these expenditures were expensed again without lowering the encumbrance, which I know you understand accounting, and that was probably a foreign language to those in the public who don't understand accounting. And what I can say is it provided a really great training opportunity for the staff that's new in that task. And I have to say also that and they've learned the task very, very quickly. The adjustment has been made. We'll send you a new report. And the executive director, Sungja Cha in fiscal services, who leads that team, has done a great job training the team and rotating duties. And this was a very brief learning curve issue that has been resolved. And so we are on plan for expenditures at this point. And I'll send you I'll send the entire board the updated report.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have. And with that, I will move C1.
A second.
Are there any questions for C1? Any comments? And no, we vote. Trustee Sapanya.
Santani abstain.
Trustee Miles.
Miles abstain.
All right. Trustee Phillips.
Yeah.
All right. Trustee Gonzalez Hoy.
Gonzalez, yes.
All right. Trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
All right. Trustee Smith Fall.
Smith Falls, yes.
All right. And myself, yes. And motion carries. All right. Item G. Item G. Comments from the board. And we'll start off with Trustee Phillips.
Thank you. There have been a lot of discussion around UTR and their needs or their requests. And there's been a lot of discussion specifically around this COLA that has come in. I just want to say publicly for myself, and I'm only speaking for myself, and I'm only talking about the COLA in the moment. I believe that cost of living adjustments are actually for employees. And I just want to say publicly that I believe if we do get cost of living adjustments, that's where it should go. And that's not specific to UTR. I'm talking about all employees. Thank you.
All right. Next we have Trustee Clerk Gonzalez Hoy.
Thank you, President Christian. I'll just spend this time just thanking everybody following Dr. Hurst's report. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving break. All of you deserve it. Every single one of our staff members, students and parents, cabinet. I just want to say thank you to all of you. We sometimes are very hard on all of you. And I just want to tell you that I'm really thankful that every single one of you are here. Dr. Hurst, you as well. So for this Thanksgiving, I will be adding all of you to my thanks as I reflect on this year. And I just want to thank our student trustees for being here, always contributing, and my colleagues. I know we don't always see eye to eye, but I'm also thankful that we all bring different perspectives. And Trustee Reckler, I know that we just went through an election. Just wanted to say congratulations to you. You and I are going to be spending 4 more years together. So congrats. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And next we have Trustee Reckler.
Thank you so much. I also want to echo actually trustee Gonzalez Hoy's words that congratulations to you on your reelection. And I want to thank everybody in the system for all the work that they do. This year is better. It's still not perfect. It's, I still feel like we're in a re-entry period, but things are going well and kids are doing great things. It is hard, but the schools are alive with art and music and kids are learning and there's discussion and I'm out in schools and it's actually, it's really nice. It's nice to see. This coming week, I always say this, but I don't want anybody to work. I don't want anybody to do anything. Don't work. These people email on the weekends. I feel bad. I want to email back. Don't email, don't work, stop working. So for the next week, really use the downtime just to recover, to sharpen your saw, to be with your family and your friends, and to be grateful for what we all have. And with that, I wish you all a good break. See you on the other side.
All right, thank you. Trustee Smith-Fall.
I'm gonna follow trustee Gonzalez Hoy and Dr. Hurst and give some Thanksgiving out. I'm thankful we have teachers that show up every day. I'm thankful that we have staff that show up every day. I'm thankful that we have admin and students who show up every single day. I'm thankful that parents trust us despite us not always earning it. I'm thankful that we have a school community has said enough and is putting a demand on the board to do better. I'm thankful that we now have an understanding and should have had an understanding of just how valuable all of our educators are. Educational equity means a living wage for all. I know that we want our teachers and our staff and our admin and our parents and our students not to work over the break. It's just not a reality. We have so much that we've put on their plates that it's impossible for us to think that they can do nothing more than to eat, take one deep breath and go back to working. I want us to do better in the new year, as a board, as a community, and as a district. Thank you, everyone. I'm complete, President Christian.
All right, thank you. And then let me go back to my student trustees, and then I'll close out. Trustee Sapanya.
I guess I'd just like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on this board with the experience. And the semester is coming to an end, but it's been a good experience. And I'm also like to thank just all the board and the cabinet for the support they've been giving throughout the semester. And I just hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving, a good break, and what Trustee Reckler said, don't bother me. I could have said that nicer. But anyways, I just want to say happy holidays and take it easy. In about a month, we have winter break. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Trustee Miles.
Hi. I just want to talk about what I've been up to lately because I don't really talk much here. But I've been corresponding with UTR since late August, so the beginning of our term. And through that, I was able to work with UTR and specifically Mr. Galindo, who you saw today, at a union organizing workshop with UC Berkeley. And I'm really thankful for that experience. I met a lot of teachers there who shared a lot of stories, and I really do hope they get their contract. I don't know if I'll be here for that, but I really do hope this gets resolved soon. And I also want to shout out the social that was last Thursday. It was really fun. The documentary was really interesting. And I want to end by saying how thankful I am for the teachers in my life. I really am the person I am today because of the support I received from my teachers. And I hope that students who come to the district after me are able to receive the same support I did, because one connection with a good teacher will really last a lifetime.
All right, thank you. And as I close out, I just want to say myself, I am very appreciative and thankful, just to serve on this board, to work with our community, to work with our students and staff and everybody. So much to be grateful and thankful for, because every day is a day of Thanksgiving, every day. Every day is when we wake up, God blesses us to be here. And through him, we move and live and have our very being. And without him, we would not be here. And I trust in him that he's going to bring us through. And the thing is that we have to focus on the right things. And if we work together, we can build and do great works. Time is precious, and we don't have time to waste. But it's about business, making things happen. And I, and serving in this capacity, being the president of the board for this year, it's been challenging, but God blesses me to continue to move forward, no matter what, through the obstacles or through all, whatever, I'm going to keep moving. And I trust in him because I know he will deliver me. And so, as we go, Thanksgiving is, so much to be thankful for, y'all. So we can't walk around grumpy all the time. Let's be happy and knowing what we have, what we do have, and appreciate what we do have. And, I work with 2 jobs between the Oakland and here. I'd be tired, but I keep moving. And I still serve the young people. I still serve our community, the young people in Oakland and the young people here in the West Country Costa Unified School District. So I don't know what else to say, but keep moving. Thank you. And everybody have a good evening. And the next meeting will be December 7th. We are adjourned, y'all. Have a good evening.